The first thing you need to understand about humans is that they are fundamentally broken by galactic standards. Their planet? A nightmare death sphere spinning through space with the structural integrity of wet cardboard and the hospitality of an active volcano. Their biology? Held together by spite and electrical impulses. Their decision-making process? Deeply, catastrophically flawed. I say this as someone who has studied 247 species across 14 systems. I hold 3 doctorates in xenobiology. I have dissected, analyzed, and cataloged life forms that would make your sensory organs shrivel. So when I tell you that humans are the most illogically constructed creatures in the known universe, please understand that I am not exaggerating for dramatic effect. My name is Vex'nar, Senior Field Observer for the Galactic Consensus Bureau, and I was sent to Earth on what should have been a routine intelligence-gathering mission. Standard protocol. Observe, document, report, do not interfere, do not make contact. Definitely do not get emotionally involved with the local wildlife. Guess which rules I broke? But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning, approximately 6 of their weeks ago, when I first encountered Lieutenant Marcus Webb and the creature that would later cause an interstellar diplomatic incident. I had established my observation post in what humans call the Rocky Mountains, a geological formation that is significantly less rocky than its name suggests and moderately less mountainous than several others I have documented. My cloaking field was functioning at 99.7% efficiency. My surveillance drones were positioned in a perfect hexagonal pattern. My nutrient paste was adequately flavorless. Everything was proceeding according to standard operating procedure. Then the human arrived. He was not particularly impressive by human standards. This Marcus Webb. Average height for his species. Approximately 1.8 meters. Standard issue. Military equipment. Slightly worn at the edges. Dark hair. Darker eyes. With the kind of facial scarring that suggested either combat experience or an unfortunate relationship with a terrestrial feline. He moved through the forest with practiced efficiency, making considerably less noise than his bipedal frame should have allowed. But it was not Marcus who caught my attention. It was what followed him. At first, I thought my visual processors were malfunctioning. The creature was small, barely reaching the human's knee, with a stocky build and distinctive black and white striping across its face. According to my database, this was a Mellivora capensis. Common name, honey badger. Threat level, laughably minimal. Average weight, 9 kilograms. Notable characteristics, tenacious foraging behavior, thick skin, mild nuisance to local bee populations. My database, it turned out, was catastrophically incomplete. The creature, the honey badger, was following Marcus with clear intent. Not hunting, not fleeing, but following. As if they were companions. As if this apex predator of a man and this ridiculous tube of fur and aggression had somehow formed a bond. Impossible, I thought. Humans do not domesticate predators. Well, except for dogs, and cats, and horses, and hawks, and, apparently, whatever this thing was. I zoomed in my surveillance feed, fascinated despite my professional detachment. Marcus was setting up camp, methodical and precise, while the honey badger investigated every rock, every fallen log, every suspicious shadow with manic intensity. The human spoke to it occasionally, his voice too low for my audio receptors to catch at this distance, and the creature responded with sounds that could generously be described as grunts, and more accurately described as auditory violence. This continued for approximately 37 minutes. Human performs task. Badger investigates everything within a 10-meter radius, with the enthusiasm of a security officer on their first day. Occasionally, they would stop and look at each other, and I swear by the 3 moons of Carthax that they were communicating something. Then the child appeared. I did not see where she came from. One moment, my sensors showed 2 life signs. 1 human adult, 1 earth mammal. The next moment, there were 3. Adult human, earth mammal, and human juvenile, approximately 1.1 meters in height. She was small, even by human child standards. with tangled brown hair and a face smudged with what my scanners identified as dirt, tree sap, and something organic I did not want to identify. Her clothing was torn, inadequate for the dropping temperatures, and she moved with the jerky uncertainty of someone operating on pure adrenaline and failing hope. Marcus saw her immediately. His hand dropped to his weapon, then slowly rose away. Non-threatening posture. Smart. "Hey there," he said, his voice carrying clearly now in the evening air. Soft tone, gentle cadence, the kind of voice you use when approaching a frightened animal. "It's okay. You are safe now." The girl froze. Her eyes were too wide, too dark, the kind of eyes that had seen things no juvenile of any species should witness. She took one step back, then another, ready to bolt. That is when the honey badger made its move. I watched, stunned, as the creature waddled forward, placed itself between Marcus and the child, and made a sound that my audio processors registered as somewhere between a purr and a growl. Not threatening. Reassuring. The child stared at the badger. The badger stared back with the infinite patience of a creature that has killed cobras before breakfast and considers large predators a light afternoon snack. Then, inexplicably, the child smiled. "Doggy," she whispered. I nearly choked on my nutrient paste. "Doggy? Doggy?" That thing was as much a dog as I was a decorative plant. That thing was a compact ball of fury and teeth that happened to be shaped like a mammal. That thing could probably fight off a small attack shuttle and win. But Marcus just nodded, solemn as a death oath. "Yeah, that is Brick. She is friendly." Brick. The human had named the murder tube Brick. The girl approached slowly, hand outstretched, and I prepared to document my first live human mauling. Instead, Brick sniffed the tiny fingers, gave them a cursory lick that looked more like a threat assessment than affection, and then, miracle of miracles, allowed the child to touch her head. "Where are your parents?" Marcus asked, kneeling down to the child's level, still maintaining distance, still non-threatening. The girl's smile vanished. They took them. 2 words, 7 letters, infinite implications. Marcus went very still. I have observed hundreds of humans in stress situations, and I can tell you that stillness is either very good or very bad. This was the bad kind. The predator kind. The kind that made me suddenly very glad I was several hundred meters away behind a military-grade cloaking field. "Who took them?" His voice had not changed in volume, but something in the tone made my thermal sensors spike with alarm. "Bad men," the girl said, and then she was crying, the kind of desperate, hiccuping sobs that transcend species barriers. "Bad men with guns. They said we had to go with them or they would hurt Mommy. They put us in a van. But I got away. I ran and ran and ran, but I do not know where I am, and it is getting dark and I am scared." Marcus caught her as she collapsed forward, gathering her against his chest with the careful intensity of someone handling live explosives. Brick made a sound that was probably meant to be comforting but sounded more like a small engine failing catastrophically. "You did good," Marcus said into the girl's hair. "You did so good. What is your name?" "Emma," she whispered. "Emma Hartwell." "Okay, Emma. My name is Marcus, and this is Brick, and we are going to help you. But I need you to tell me everything you friend. Remember about the bad men. Can you do that for me?" Over the next 17 minutes, a story emerged that made my internal organs clench with something I absolutely refused to label as emotion. Traffickers. Human traffickers, operating in these mountains, preying on families who came here for recreation and isolation. They had taken Emma's parents, Tom and Lisa Hartwell, along with 2 other families. 15 people total, including 6 children. Emma had escaped when the van stopped at a checkpoint. She had squeezed through a window barely large enough for her small frame and run into the forest, driven by pure terror and the desperate hope that someone would help. She had been running for almost 9 hours. Marcus listened to all of this with absolute focus, his face expressionless, one hand rubbing slow circles on Emma's back while the other rested on Brick's head. The badger had positioned herself at his knee, facing outward, every line of her compact body radiating alertness. When Emma finished, Marcus was quiet for exactly 37 seconds. Then he pulled out a communication device, pressed several buttons, and spoke in the clipped, efficient tone of someone delivering a military briefing. Webb to dispatch. I have a Code 7 situation. Child refugee, human trafficking operation, multiple hostages, requesting immediate extraction and tactical support at my coordinates. The response came quickly, but not quickly enough. A voice, female, professional. Copy that, Webb. Extraction team is 90 minutes out. Can you maintain position? Marcus looked down at Emma, at her exhausted, terrified face, at the way she clutched his jacket like it was the only solid thing in a tilting world. He looked at Brick, who met his gaze with the unwavering intensity of a creature that has never backed down from anything in her entire existence. Negative, he said. The traffickers will be looking for her. If they find us before extraction arrives. He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Marcus, the voice on the radio said, and now there was something personal in it, something worried. You are one operator and a combat-trained honey badger. Marcus supplied helpfully. There was a pause. I am sorry. What? Never mind. Look, Katie, I am not waiting 90 minutes while a child dies of exposure or gets recaptured by traffickers. I am moving to intercept. That is suicide, Katie said flatly. You do not know how many hostiles you are facing. You do not know their armament. You are proposing to assault an unknown position with no backup and no intelligence. I have Brick, Marcus said, as if this explained everything. Brick is a badger. Brick is a highly trained tactical mammal with more confirmed kills than most of your strike team, Marcus replied calmly. And she has never let me down. I watched, fascinated and horrified, as he stood up, Emma still cradled against his shoulder. Brick rose with him, shaking herself, from nose to tail, then looked up at Marcus with what I can only describe as eagerness. Emma, Marcus said softly, I need you to stay very quiet and very still, okay? We are going to go get your parents. But there are so many bad men, Emma whispered. Marcus smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a creature that has just identified prey. There are enough, he agreed. Brick, track. The badger's nose dropped to the ground immediately, snuffling with intense focus. 3 seconds later, she made a low sound and started moving through the underbrush with shocking speed. Marcus followed, and despite every protocol, every regulation, every shred of common sense I possessed, I activated my pursuit drone and followed too. We moved through the forest for 43 minutes. Brick led with absolute confidence, occasionally pausing to verify the scent trail, while Marcus followed with Emma secure in a tactical carry that kept her weight distributed and his hands free. I noticed he had drawn his sidearm, a weapon my database identified as a Sig Sauer P-320, and held it in a ready position that suggested extensive training. The sun was setting, painting the forest in shades of amber and shadow, temperature dropping, visibility decreasing, every tactical advantage shifting toward the entrenched position. Then Brick stopped. She froze so completely that for a moment I thought my video feed had malfunctioned. Then I saw her nostrils flaring, her small ears pivoting forward, every muscle coiled tight. Marcus dropped into a crouch immediately, covering Emma with his body. How many? He whispered. Brick held up one paw, then another, then another. 3. 3 hostiles. Sentries, Marcus breathed. They have got the place locked down, probably more inside. He looked at Emma, at her trusting, terrified face. He looked at Brick, who turned to meet his gaze with absolute certainty. Then he did the most human thing I have ever witnessed, the most illogical, brilliant, insane thing. He smiled. Brick, he said quietly. Remember Budapest? The badger made a sound that was absolutely a laugh. A dark, anticipatory, utterly unhinged laugh. 3 seconds, Marcus said. Give them 3 seconds to surrender. Then show them why evolution made a mistake. He set Emma down gently behind a fallen log, placed his jacket over her shoulders, and pressed one finger to his lips. She nodded, eyes enormous. Then Marcus and Brick stepped into the clearing where 3 armed men were standing guard over a camouflaged structure, and I realized I was about to witness something that would require an entirely new classification system for human combat behavior. "Gentlemen," Marcus called out cheerfully, both hands raised, weapon holstered. "You have 3 seconds to drop your weapons and surrender. Starting now." The men spun, rifles rising. They saw one unarmed man and something small near his feet. They started to laugh. 3. Marcus counted. They raised their weapons, fingers moving to triggers. 2. I will never forget what happened next. The moment when human ingenuity, animal ferocity, and absolute reckless determination collided in a forest clearing as the sun set over the Rocky Mountains. Because no one, not even me, not even these doomed, stupid traffickers, ever reached second one. Brick moved. I have witnessed orbital bombardments. I have seen plasma storms devour entire ecosystems. I have watched species go extinct in real time. None of it prepared me for watching a 9-kilogram mammal dismantle 3 armed humans in under 4 seconds. Brick became a blur of black and white fury. She hit the first man low, teeth sinking into his ankle with the grip strength of a hydraulic press. He screamed, fired wildly into the dirt, and went down hard. Before his companions could process what was happening, she had already released and launched herself at the second guard, climbing his leg like a furry missile with a personal vendetta against kneecaps. The second man made the fatal mistake of trying to grab her. His hand came away bleeding from a dozen puncture wounds. Brick twisted mid-air, latched onto his throat. No, not his throat. His collar, dragging him down with weight that should have been impossible for something her size. The third guard finally got his rifle aimed, finally found his target. Marcus shot him in the shoulder before he could pull the trigger. The man dropped his weapon with a howl. Marcus was on him instantly. Zip ties appearing from nowhere, securing wrists with practiced efficiency that spoke of hundreds of repetitions. Meanwhile, Brick had abandoned the second guard, who was curled on the ground making sounds I will not attempt to describe, and returned to the first man. She planted herself on his chest, all 9 kilograms of compact rage, and stared into his eyes with the unblinking focus of a creature deciding whether you are worth eating. He stopped struggling immediately. "I gave you 3 seconds, Marcus said conversationally, securing the third guard. "You did not make it to 1. That is on you." "What the hell is that thing?" The first guard wheezed, still pinned under Brick's weight. "That is Brick," Marcus replied. "She is a honey badger. Also, my partner. Also, currently deciding if your face looks tasty. I would recommend staying very, very still." The man froze. Brick made a sound that was definitely approval. I checked my scanner readings. 3 hostiles neutralized. 0 friendly casualties. Elapsed time, 6.3 seconds. Completely impossible by every combat model in my database. Completely, definitively human. Marcus worked quickly, efficiently, stripping the guards of weapons, communication devices, and anything else useful. Then he pulled out a small medical kit and, because humans are fundamentally broken in all the right ways, began treating their injuries. "You shot me," the third guard gasped. "Shoulder wound. Clean through. Missed the artery," Marcus replied, applying pressure bandages with the same calm focus he had used on Emma. "You will live. Unlike what would have happened to those families if you had succeeded." "You do not understand," the second guard said, clutching his savaged arm. "You do not know who you are messing with. When Vance finds out—" "Vance?" Marcus repeated, and something in his tone made my sensors spike again. "Vance is here?" The guards exchanged looks, said nothing. Marcus stood, walked over to where Brick still sat on the first guard's chest, and scratched behind her ears. She leaned into it, never taking her eyes off her captive. "Brick is very patient," Marcus said pleasantly. "She can sit there all night. However, she gets hungry around this time, and when she gets hungry, she gets creative about finding snacks. Now, you can tell me about Vance, or you can explain to Brick why she should not start with your fingers." Brick helpfully opened her mouth, displaying teeth that looked far too large for her head. "Abandoned mining facility, The first guard blurted out. 2 clicks northeast. Vance has 12 men, plus the hostages. He is moving them at dawn. Some buyer overseas. That is all I know, I swear. Marcus nodded, satisfied. Thank you. Brick, stay. He returned to the fallen log where Emma waited, still wrapped in his jacket, eyes huge with shock and something that might have been awe. Are the bad men gone? She whispered. These bad men are, Marcus confirmed. But there are more bad men who have your parents, and I am going to go get them back. How? Emma asked, with the devastating logic of childhood. There are too many. Marcus knelt down, meeting her eyes. Emma, I need to tell you something important, something true. There are never too many bad men when you have the right friends. And Brick? Brick is the best friend anyone could ask for. She has fought warlords and mercenaries and things that would give you nightmares. Nightmares. And she has never, ever let me down. As if understanding, Brick waddled over and bumped her head against Emma's leg. The girl reached down with trembling fingers and touched the badger's scarred, battle-tested hide. Will you save my mommy and daddy? Emma asked. Yes, Marcus said simply. No hesitation, no doubt, just flat certainty. He pulled out his radio. Katie, I need that extraction team redirected. I am sending you coordinates for 3 secured hostiles and 1 civilian child, priority evac. Marcus, what are you doing? Katie's voice crackled back, edged with worry. I found the main site. 12 hostiles, 15 hostages. I am moving to intercept. Wait for backup. Tactical team is 40 minutes out. In 40 minutes, those people will be in a transport heading overseas, and we will never see them again, Marcus said flatly. I am going in now. This is insane. This is suicide. This is happening. Marcus interrupted. Webb out. He switched off the radio before Katie could respond. Then he looked at Emma, at this small human who had survived 9 hours of terror and exhaustion, and still found the courage to trust a stranger. Your parents taught you to be brave, he said quietly. To run when you needed to run. To fight when you needed to fight. They would be so proud of you. Now I need you to be brave one more time. Stay here with these men. The good people are coming to get you. Do not move until they arrive. Can you do that? Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face. Will I see you again? Marcus smiled. Count on it. I have to return Brick to you. She really likes you. It was a lie, told kindly, and we both knew it. The odds of Marcus surviving an assault on a fortified position with 12 armed hostiles were approximately 0.003%. The odds of him surviving with a honey badger as his only backup increased that to maybe 0.004%. Humans are terrible at math. Marcus stood, checked his weapons, adjusted his gear. Brick shook herself, stretched, and took position at his side. They moved into the darkening forest like ghosts, like legends, like the universe's worst idea of a tactical team. I followed. The mining facility appeared in my sensors 18 minutes later. Old structure, concrete and rust, built into the mountainside like a wound. 3 vehicles parked outside. Lights in several windows. Heat signatures, indicating multiple occupants. Marcus and Brick circled the perimeter with agonizing patience. 47 minutes of observation, noting guard positions, identifying entry points, watching patterns. Then Marcus did something that made me question everything I knew about human tactical doctrine. He walked straight up to the front door and knocked. Actually knocked. Knuckles on metal, clear and loud. A man opened the door, rifle in hand, confused expression already forming. Marcus shot him in the knee with a tranquilizer dart I had not known he was carrying. The man dropped. Marcus caught him, lowered him quietly, and stepped inside. Brick followed, a shadow with teeth. What happened next I cannot fully describe. My sensors registered chaos, movement, sound, violence distilled to its purest form. I caught glimpses through windows, through doors, through gaps in my surveillance net. Marcus moving through corridors like water, like smoke, like something that could not be stopped, taking down guards with tranquilizer darts when possible, physical force when necessary, never killing, always advancing. And Brick was everywhere and nowhere. A guard would aim, and she would be at his ankles. A hostile would turn, and she would be behind him. She did not kill either, not quite, but what she did was somehow worse. She broke fingers, tore clothing, created confusion and terror in equal measure. The compound that had held 12 armed men descended into screaming chaos in under 3 minutes. I watched Marcus reach the central chamber where the hostages were held. Watched him dispatch the final 2 guards with efficiency that was almost surgical. Watched him unlock doors, cut zip ties, speak in calm, reassuring tones to terrified families. "I am Lieutenant Marcus Webb, United States Army," he said to the stunned, frightened crowd. "You are safe now. Help is coming. Is anyone injured?" A woman stumbled forward, face bruised, eyes wild. "Emma. My daughter. Emma. They said she escaped. But Emma is safe," Marcus said immediately. "She is with the extraction team. She is brave and strong, and she saved all of you by getting away and finding me." The woman, Lisa Hartwell, collapsed with relief so profound it transcended species. Her husband caught her, and they clung to each other with the desperate strength of people who thought they would never touch again. That is when Vance appeared. I had been monitoring the facility's upper level, and I had missed him. He had been waiting, watching, and now he stepped into the chamber with a pistol, aimed directly at Marcus's head. "Clever," Vance said. His voice was smooth, educated, completely at odds with his profession. "Very clever. One man, one ridiculous animal, and you take down my entire operation. Color me impressed." Marcus turned slowly, hands visible, weapon holstered. Brick positioned herself between Marcus and the hostages, reading the threat instantly. "Vance," Marcus said, "we have not seen each other since Kandahar." "Wait, they knew each other?" "You remember," Vance said, and his smile was poison wrapped in charm. "I am touched. Of course, last time we met, you were putting me in handcuffs for selling weapons to insurgents. How did that work out for you? You served 3 years, got early release for good behavior, and immediately returned to being a parasite," Marcus replied. "I would say it worked out exactly as expected. And yet here we are again," Vance continued, gun steady. "Me with the advantage, you with the moral high ground. Shall we see which one matters more?" He pulled the trigger. 3 things happened simultaneously. Marcus dove left. Brick launched forward. And I, Senior Field Observer Vex'nar, violated every protocol in the Galactic Consensus Handbook by activating my observation post's defensive systems and hitting Vance with a localized electromagnetic pulse that fried every electronic device in a 10-meter radius. Vance's gun died mid-shot. The lights went out, and Brick hit him like a furry asteroid with a personal grudge against kneecaps specifically, and humanity in general. Marcus recovered instantly, securing Vance with the same efficient brutality he had used on the others. Backup power kicked in, bathing the chamber in emergency lighting. "What the hell was that?" Vance gasped from the floor, Brick's teeth very close to very sensitive areas. "Magnetic anomaly," Marcus said, meeting my hidden camera with eyes that saw entirely too much. "These mountains are famous for them." "Brick. Release." The Badger stepped back, allowing Marcus to finish restraining Vance. The hostages huddled together, safe but shaken, while Marcus called in the extraction team with coordinates and status updates. I sat in my observation post, hands shaking, career probably over, and watched as human resilience, animal loyalty, and one very stupid alien's intervention saved 15 lives. The tactical team arrived 40 minutes later. They found a compound full of neutralized hostiles, rescued hostages, and one very calm lieutenant with a honey badger sitting at his feet. Katie, the tactical commander, stared at the scene with an expression I could not fully parse. "Marcus, what the hell happened here?" "Standard rescue operation," Marcus replied. Brick and I went in, secured the hostages, waited for backup. Textbook. There are 12 unconscious men, 3 with badger bites, one with what looks like tranquilizer darts in non-lethal locations, and absolutely no indication of a firefight. This is not textbook. This is efficient, Marcus suggested. Katie pinched the bridge of her nose. You are going to make me file the weirdest after-action report in military history. Not the weirdest, Marcus said. Remember Budapest? We do not talk about Budapest, Katie said flatly. Then she knelt down and, to my absolute shock, scratched Brick behind the ears. Good work, you absolute menace to tactical doctrine, Brick preened. The hostages were loaded into medical transports. Emma reunited with her parents in a scene that made my visual sensors malfunction from definitely technical issues and absolutely not emotional responses. She ran to them with tears streaming, and they caught her in a embrace that spoke of love beyond words. Then Emma broke free and ran to Marcus, wrapping small arms around his leg. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for saving my family. Marcus knelt down, meeting her eyes. You saved them, Emma. You ran. You found help. You were brave when it mattered most. That is all. To you. Will I see Brick again? Emma asked. Marcus looked at his partner, at the scarred, battle-tested honey badger who had just helped rescue 15 people from traffickers. Brick looked back with absolute trust. Brick goes where she is needed, Marcus said gently. But I think she will remember you, the brave girl who was not afraid of her. Emma hugged the badger, who tolerated it with surprising patience. Then the Hartwells were loaded into transports, along with the other rescued families, and the clearing emptied of everyone except Marcus, Brick, and Katie. You know the brass is going to ask questions, Katie said quietly, about how you pulled this off, about why you did not wait for backup, about Brick. Let them ask, Marcus replied. I brought everyone home. That is what matters. You are impossible, Katie said, but she was smiling. Absolutely. Completely impossible. And thank God for that. She left, and Marcus stood alone in the clearing with his partner. He looked, up at the stars, at the vast universe beyond Earth's atmosphere, and I swear he looked directly at my hidden position. I know you are there, he said quietly. I have known since day 3. Your cloaking field has a 0.3% visual distortion in ultraviolet spectrum. Rookie mistake. I froze. Completely exposed. Completely compromised. I do not know why you are watching, Marcus continued, still not looking directly at me. Research, reconnaissance, tourism. Do not care. But I want you to take something back to whoever sent you. Tell them that humans are not the strongest species. We are not the smartest. We are not the most advanced. But we are stubborn. We are loyal. And we make friends with things that should terrify us, because we are too stupid to know when to quit. He reached down and scratched Brick's ears. We are dangerous. Not because we are warriors, but because we care. About family. About strangers. About small, angry mammals that everyone else thinks are pests. We will walk into hell with bad odds and worse backup to save people we have never met. And we will win. Not always. Not easily. But often enough. Marcus turned then, meeting my hidden camera directly. Tell them that humanity is coming. Tell them we bring our friends. Tell them to be ready. Then he and Brick walked into the forest, leaving me with a report that would fundamentally alter the galactic consensus's assessment of Earth and its inhabitants. I filed my documentation 3 days later. 17 hours of testimony, 4,000 pages of analysis, 200 separate incident reports. The consensus board reviewed it in silence. Then the senior administrator, a Kelvorian with 600 years of experience, looked at me with all 4 eyes and said, Observer Vex'nar, are you telling us that a single human soldier and a 9-kilogram terrestrial mammal neutralized 12 armed hostiles, rescued 15 prisoners, and suffered 0 casualties? Yes, Administrator. And you intervened to assist this human? Yes, Administrator. Why? I thought about Emma's tears, about Lisa Hartwell's relief, about Marcus walking into hell because it was the right thing to do, about Brick, who should have been a footnote in evolutionary biology but instead became a legend. Because, I said, they gave the traffickers 3 seconds to surrender, and I realized that any species capable of that kind of mercy before that kind of violence deserves our respect. The administrator was quiet for a long moment. Then, the consensus will take your report under advisement. Earth will be flagged for continued observation. Non-interference protocols remain in effect. Understood, Administrator. One more thing, Observer Vex'nar. Yes? What happened in Budapest? I smiled. I have absolutely no idea, but I intend to find out. 3 weeks later, I received a message through back channels. A single photograph. Marcus and Brick on a mountain trail. Sun setting behind them. Emma and her family. Beside them for a reunion hike. Emma was wearing a shirt that said, "I survived the bad men and met a honey badger." Brick was wearing a tactical vest that said, "Emotional support murder tube." Marcus was smiling. The note attached read, "Thanks for the electromagnetic pulse. Next time you are in the neighborhood, look me up. We will grab coffee. Brick promises not to bite. Mostly. Marcus." I filed the photograph in my personal archives, marked it Cultural Study, Human Bonding Rituals, and began drafting a request for extended observation duty on Earth. The galactic consensus wants to understand humans. They want data, analysis, risk assessments. I want to know what happened in Budapest. And I want to see what other impossible things humans and their ridiculous animal companions can accomplish when you give them 3 seconds and bad odds. Because they tried to take the child. The honey badger gave them 3 seconds. No one reached second 2. And that, in the end, is what you need. To understand about humans. They do not ask for permission. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They see something wrong, and they fix it with whatever tools they have available. Even if those tools are a sidearm and a 9-kilogram mammal with rage issues. The galaxy should be terrified. I cannot wait to see what they do next.